Hello there folks, I'm Dan Brown from Sort of Interesting, and today you're joining me for one of the most popular canal walks in the entire network. In fact, this is one of the most popular stretches of canal for boats. So we've just left the wonderful Welsh town of Llangollen, and here we are on the Llangollen Canal itself. We're going to walk about 5 miles downstream, following the canal all the way from the town down to the Pont Cysylltu Aqueduct. And then on the map you're about to see, you might notice I go off the edge of the screen on the recorded route. That's because I wanted to run up into the little village of Kevin Mauer to go to the shops. This was recorded in October, so you can see we've got this exceptional series of colours starting to run through the trees, as summer is now a distant memory and autumn is all but ready to give way to winter at this point. Certainly some of the weather we've had recently makes it feel that way. We've got this wonderful lift bridge here, which, rather than a lot of the lift bridges you see on the canal that are in the down position and need lifting up to let the boats by, because this only offers access to the farmer's field there with the cows, it's mainly in the upright positions. One of the themes of this video that I want to draw your attention to at this point is just how narrow a lot of this top section of the Llangollen Canal is. And you'll notice here it's particularly wide compared to some of the sections you're about to see. But in a lot of places, I'd consider this quite a narrow section of canal. But as I say, in the context of this top 5 miles or so, it's a breath of fresh air to have that much space to try not to run aground in. Now, one of the other things I want to say is that this is probably going to look like quite an empty, calm, quiet stretch of canal because we're obviously here well outside of the peak holiday season. But I honestly can't express how busy it gets up here. And you're talking everything from walkers and cyclists to boaters, whether that's private boats or the huge amount, and I mean unbelievable amount of holiday boats that come up and down here. And of course, because it leads to a dead end at Llangollen, it means that every boat that comes up the canal has to turn around and come back down sooner or later. Whereas if you were further inland and the holiday routes were, say, on a circular route, for example, it would mean that a holiday boat would only pass by here once until it went all around the full circuit, was handed over to the next holiday makers, and then came round once again. Whereas up here, it's a there and back. So every boat does this twice, obviously in each direction. Now, talking about how narrow this canal is, as we pass beneath the road bridge here, I think you can probably start to see what I mean. There are sections which are, I would say, surprisingly narrow and catch some people off guard. And talking about the huge amount of holiday boats, this section in particular, which has the famous little lay-by in it, it's an area that can lead to some stress and disagreements and rising tempers given the tailbacks that can emerge here in the peak summer hours. So, as I say, this is one of the most popular, if not the most popular stretch of canal for walking in terms of day tripping and specifically coming out to visit and walk along these sections of canal. I'm not necessarily saying that more people are walking here all year round, because of course you've got the city centre bits of canal where people will just be passing by as part of their general day-to-day commute and so on. And the fact they're in the middle of city centres where there's goodness knows how many people living in direct vicinity. Whereas here, you might be able to tell, it's quite rural, quite peaceful. And as I say, outside of the peak summer times, not many people about. Now, I would say part of the reason, obviously, this is such a popular place for boating is because there's so many amazing features on this section of canal. If you say, I don't know, maybe 20 miles or so downstream, you've got the wonderful Ellesmere and a marina there, and further out Wixell Marina, further out beyond that, you start getting towards Nantwich, Grindley Brook and places. And fetching a boat up there, you get to go through only a couple of locks in a good long section of canal, so it's a lot quicker and easier to travel, especially if you're a novice boater, because you don't have loads of locks in the way. And of course, you've got the Ellesmere Tunnel, you've got Chirk Tunnel, Whitehurst Tunnel, Chirk Aqueduct, right next to the Chirk Viaduct, obviously the aqueduct we're about to head to, and of course at the very top end, the wonderful town of Llangollen, which has got a historic railway, the river running through it, obviously the canal, castle ruins on a hilltop. There's just so much there in such a small place, and all sandwiched in around the canal. It's just an amazing place to be. So you can probably imagine that if you're not doing that via boat and you're turning up here in a car on a day trip, you can obviously drive and get out and have a look at the aqueduct, or as I say, what a lot of people do is they either start from the aqueduct, walk up to the town and then back as about a 10-mile route, or from the town down to the aqueduct and then back, or they get dropped off and picked up in different places. Or if you don't want to turn your days off work into some sort of endurance event, you can obviously just park at different places and drive a few miles down and appreciate all of the key spots as and when you wish. And something I've just realised on that list of incredible local places in this area, I missed off the fact that you've also got the Horseshoe Falls right at the top end of this wonderful body of water, where the canal itself is taken from the River Dee and begins its journey all the way down to Nantwich. As you can see, this was a little spotting of a horse that I had that I just thought was quite a nice little moment of just peeking through the bare trees there. And then, of course, the moment that it realised I was watching it and trying to get a nice bit of film, up it jumped, had a quick shake off, and as I said in a previous video, just pretended as if nothing had been happening. At this point in our walk, we are getting very close to the Trevor Basin, which immediately leads onto the aqueduct. And I've often wondered and contemplated that it must be almost overwhelming if you're hiring a boat from the basin to have your boat handover and instructions done with the mighty aqueduct literally within sight in some cases. So yeah, you can see I always like this bridge. There's the mega long accessibility ramp, and then about the slippiest looking cobblestone ramp on the other side. Definitely a meeting of the old and the new there. So here we are. This is a little road bridge which we're going to pop underneath, and as if by magic, our journey is reaching its final destination. Here we are, just on the edge of the Trevor Basin, and I'm sure this is maybe a less common view of the absolutely epic Pontyclufley Aqueduct. What a place, and look at that, how narrow it looks from this perspective. I'll just throw a couple of pictures of the aqueduct in here because I've got goodness knows how many hundreds of them collected from every time of day and every season. Please do feel free to follow me and subscribe wherever you're watching this video for more like this, and please consider checking out my books. The first one I wrote was called The Narrowboat Lad, about my life on a boat. Until the next time, have an absolutely fantastic day, keep it interesting, keep it boat worthy, and of course, my friends, farewell.